Hey guys, continue on with the Feather AS-D2 razor, stainless steel from Japan. Works great with feather blades. Some of the other ones don't quite cut as well though, and I'm going to run through those maybe in the next several days, see what I can find in my inventory that works well.
0930.
And sorry about that little clock chime there. This is a Craving shaving handle. And inside it's got a pretty inexpensive brush, 20 bucks maybe, Virginia Cheng, and you get them on eBay. Vig Shaving is the username, I believe. And it's just a standard, nice, soft badger knot. This is a 3-band Silvertip. You can see the thicker white area down here and the thinner black area, which means it's a 3-band. It's not super high density, and I kind of like that. It doesn't have a ton of backbone. I like that too. It's got kind of medium backbone, nice soft tips. It's one of my favorite inexpensive brushes. And I like to soak it for just while I prep my gear and all that. Some people just run a little bit of water over their badger brushes before use and then just use them. Try that out, see if you like that. I've noticed that there are some badger brushes, like a 2-band, that the tips are kind of jelly a little bit, and those often, to me at least, need a little bit more soak time. And I noticed that with a Fanturian from that darn Rob. It was the first one I noticed it with, because I noticed the third pass application was much softer than the first pass. The feel of the brush was. And so play around with that if you notice that. Soak it for a little bit longer maybe. I'm going to try another one of my favorite blades in this feather razor, Gillette Platinum. And this one has been used many times by some people's standard. So this looks like about the 17th use of this one. George, a viewer online, generously sent me a sample of Oleo Sandalumo. Oleo is a nice brand. I've used it a few times, and I'm really happy with the performance that they bring. I really like their Excursion. A couple of the other ones I've tried from them have just been lower scent levels. The scent strength just hasn't really been something that is my preference. The Excursion was nice, but Isidro, if I'm pronouncing that right, I believe was a little too low. I've tried Don Louis, I don't know how to pronounce that exactly, but I think I enjoyed that one. And this one has some really nice scent notes. No reason for me to show it to you because you can read, but Sandalumo, it's got, in addition to the Haitian sandalwood, it's got oud and smoke is what's listed by trythatsoap.com. Now, what's different about Haitian sandalwood versus maybe the traditional one that's maybe Indian or whatever it is, I don't know. This one's very kind of rich, aromatic, almost like their almost like there are other spices coming into play. And maybe there are, or maybe that's just the way Haitian sandalwood smells. But it's very nice. I don't know that I pick up the oud, but I'm sure it's in there, and it may be there, and my nose just isn't quite good enough. And the smoke. Yeah, I definitely get that, and it's nice. And so reading that description, I was really happy that he sent it to me. I knew that it was mostly sandalwood, so I was very glad when he offered. Thank you, George. And it's pretty firm soap here. Definitely had to dig at it with my measuring spoon. These little soap containers, obviously you can't lather a brush in that with very much success. And so one good way to do it is to hook some out. Some people use a butter knife. I use a measuring spoon. And then I spread it into the bottom of my lather bowl. Now, some people will take the whole sample and put it down in a bowl, and then that kind of becomes more of a loading bowl, and they're more like face latherers, whereas I like to have a lather bowl, and so I only put one shave's worth into the bowl, and that way I know I just go until it's not sticking to the bottom anymore. This is a pretty firm soap. Now a lot of times the firm soaps will give you nice economy for your uses because they are more concentrated than something that's softer, and so maybe I don't need to use this much, but this is kind of the amount that I usually recommend, because most soaps do very nice if you use a quarter of a teaspoon. Some soaps don't need that much, and you'll get like 6 passes of lather, but others, and I've had just a couple of soaps need more than that. So because that's just the minority, I choose to go with a quarter teaspoon as my lead off amount to try, and it looks like, man, I'd be able to get about 5 shaves out of that little puck. And it's nice because you know that you're not you're not wasting your puck. Like if you take half the puck of soap and put it in there, you might end up with a lather that's too rich, and you really could have gotten more shaves out of it. And if it's a sample and you really want to try it over time, and so it's nice to know that you're not using up the sample too quickly. At least to me it is. All right, get my face a little wet. Cold water today. Not because of like some people actually put ice in their shaving water because they like those cold bracing shaves. That's not me, but we are getting definitely into the fall here at the end of October, and so the tap water is getting cold. We're still in the zone right now where we've got the AC on, because occasionally the day will have a warm part in the middle, and so therefore the heat hasn't been coming on. And I think we've had a shift from yesterday to a colder day, so I've got a little chill. I might have to go down and get some coffee. This platinum blade is one that I'm on a marathon, so I wanted to show you my M designation on there. Well, there we go. Well, that's one reason why it's nice to have a stainless steel razor, because they're not going to break when you drop them like that. I rarely ever drop. The Zamac razors are pot metal, like the Parkers or the Mercurs, the Muleys and Edwin Jaggers. They can last decades if you take care of them, if you don't drop them, if you take them apart after shaving and make sure that little bolt that comes from the top cap up into the thing, make sure that's dry, because that's an area where corrosion can happen, and once that starts, it's going to break when you drop it. But otherwise, they can last a decade, which is a long time for a somewhat inexpensive razor. But those pot metal ones do sometimes tend to drop, because if they land something like this, then all that weight is applied to the joint right there, and that can just snap them, because it's just a less strong metal than stainless or brass. All right, so the platinum is in, and my brush has had a chance to soak nicely. So we have pressed the Sandalumo into the bottom of the lather bowl. Let's start working it up. As my usual, I am going to shake most of the water out of here. Never had a problem lathering Oleo before. There's a couple of soaps out there that like to have the water added slowly. Mystic Water is one of those. The lather is really slick, but it does get bubbly, and a lot of times it can't come back if you add water too quickly. It just never settles down after that. But if you did shake most of the water out of the brush like I just did, and go at the Mystic Water like that, then you can, once you go at it for a while, then you can start adding water and you're fine. We've mixed around a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and add Let's do 1.5 teaspoons because I'm pretty confident this is going to take that. I usually turn this way, which is counterclockwise in my bowl, just the way my arm naturally kind of wants to do it. And so I need to remember to maybe some of these 0940. I'll get to the end of the shave and I'll still see a little bit of soap left next to a spine, one of these interior ridges. And so maybe I need to make sure I always put it on the clockwise side of the spine, so my brush, when I turn it in my natural direction, it's attacking that soap instead of being in the lee of the ridge. Looks like I'm gonna have plenty of soap. Oleo's a nice maker. I like several of their scents that I've tried. Now this is got 2.5 teaspoons in there now. This is a good, nice warm scent. It's a little on the thick side, and so maybe the summer might not necessarily lend itself to this soap, but of course that's dependent on the user, you know. It might just, if it's your style, but it is definitely fitting in the fall and winter for sure. So this brush knot, Virginia Cheng, Silvertip, really soft, medium backbone, and this is the 26mm version. And I don't have it mounted too deep. It's lofted kind of high, or medium, and I think it just offers a lot of comfort, low price. I think it's a great way to get into the Badger brushes if you're a little hesitant or don't have a big wallet. So this is giving me, I want to end up with tons of lather. I can see that it's so thick. Let's add another bit. So it looks like Oleo does not need 1/4 teaspoon. I could definitely reduce that. Get even more uses out of this sample. Looking good so far. Let's look at the viscosity by kind of pulling it down, looking at the texture on the brush, dropping it, seeing whether it stays. Oh, now look at that. Look at that drag there. The long elastic peaks there. That's something to notice. I need to mix and make sure. That could have just been kind of a watery spot that needs to be integrated and mixed around and make it more uniform. Let's try to do that. Feels nice and thick. We can pull it down and then to the bottom of the bowl and then lift up. See, that's actually pretty firm. It's holding its own weight pretty easy. Let's add, well, you know what, before I add any more water, because I've got 3.25 teaspoons in there. Let's just kind of feel the lather. Oh yeah, that's slick, man. What a good base. Some of the Oleo is their duck fat base. That's really slick. Why don't we just use that? And if I need to add more water, I can. Man, that feels good. Very a fatty kind of slick, you know. I like that. Okay. I think we're ready. A little water on my face again. Now, as you can see, I don't do too much in terms of pre-shave routine. Some people wash their face. I've heard that a glycerin soap is really good as a pre-shave. you may need to apply some things to your face to kind of prep your beard, especially I've heard that guys of Mediterranean descent with that super thick beard really need a good pre-shave routine to prepare for have a good successful shave because of just the density and thickness of their beards. Yeah, I think I'll put a little extra water in the brush here. Feels nice on the face. A little bit of drag with the brush, and that's one of the things that tells me maybe I need to add a little bit more water. And when you add more water to your brush, if you start seeing it increase in quantity, that's usually a sign that you have your lather is pretty thick on the brush and concentrated, and so that maybe you can go push more water into your lather next time. I think we're good to shave. Yeah, the smell, not super strong. Not as strong and concentrated as it was smelling the puck. And that's kind of normal because we're not dealing with as much soap right now. But you still definitely get that that warm, savory, you know, the sandalwood scent. It is slightly different sandalwood. I think, no, I don't think that's the oud that I'm smelling right there. It must be part of the sandalwood. Yeah, nice. It's just a different sandalwood than a lot of them are used to. And that's good. You don't want to offer all the same thing, right? So, see how this Gillette Platinum works. And this feather razor. This razor is notoriously mild. So if you're looking for something aggressive, then this may not be the one for you. Pretty comfortable. And this is from a razor that is a blade that's, you know, been used 16 times. Cutting nicely, feels like it's cutting well. I think my lather's just a little on the dry side. Shaved with this razor yesterday and discovered that while I may not have as good of a result after 3 passes as I do with my more aggressive or mid-aggressive razors, with this one I could actually go against the grain on my neck, which is very uncommon. And so I then was able to achieve that same closeness. So it can get me there just a little differently. Rinse now. Hey guys, so in the break, after I did a little half rinse, I put in another teaspoon of water. So now we have 3 teaspoons that was used, whether it was to dribble on my brush or whether it's been added to the lather. And I definitely have not overwatered this, at least it looks like. Looks even better now. Kind of the same quantity, but it looks smoother on the brush. Look at that nice long elasticity there. It feels better with the brush right now as I'm turning it. It feels smoother, not quite as much drag with the brush that I mentioned earlier. All right, let's put this on. Yeah, that feels better. Switch to the painting, finish things off. This is still definitely not a runny lather at all. Could probably use a little more water, to be honest. Well, the platinum seems to be working well in this razor. We'll just see how it looks at the end of the shave. Oh yeah, see, I've got better glide now than I did before. Well, not really a fair comparison since the first pass has to mow down a lot more hair than this one. But man, very smooth, very comfortable. Very nice. This is the razor to go for if you're kind of looking for comfort in your shaving. I also, if you don't quite have the pocketbook for this razor, I can recommend the Vetiver Testina Gentile, a very mild razor, but still, but not mild cutting. It feels mild, but cuts very efficiently. And it's got nice construction. It is plated, but it's brass underneath, like the vintage Gillettes have always been, generally. Yeah, oh yeah, nice cut. And so therefore we're talking lifetime instead of the Muleys and Parkers and Mercurs with their Zamac. It's got a brass core, and so even if all that plating strips away, you've got a lifetime materials razor there. So I recommend that one as well. And you can't really talk about mild shaves without talking about the vintage Gillette Tech. Again, as long as it's before 1965 or something like that, you're going to get a nice brass construction with those. They are proven by hundreds of thousands, if not millions of men over the history of their making. They don't cost very much on eBay. Kind of hard to mess them up, really. And it's a little bit more efficient than this feather, because I can pretty much use about any blade I want and get a nice clean shave in 3 passes with the Tech. So it's just but it's still very comfortable. Cross grain again on my face. I don't really need to go against the grain. This feels really nice. The slickness of the soap is terrific. Could definitely go with a little bit more water for this ratio. Nice scent, really enjoying the scent. And another plus is that, I told you that several of the Oleo soaps, I just kind of had to pass on to some other people because they just didn't smell very strongly. I enjoyed what I did smell of them, but when you're shaving, I couldn't really pick it up very much at all. And so I'm very happy to report that this is not one of them. But it's not overly strong. This is a very rich scent, and so it could get obnoxious if it was too strong. And I could see how, there are a lot of people out there that use more soap than I do per shave, and so that would mean that the scent strength would be higher for them. And I could see maybe if they're one of those, then they could potentially think that the scent was a little too strong. But if you mix it at kind of more my ratios, then you're not going to have that problem, at least if you have a normal nose. If you're overly sensitive, then yeah, of course, that might be an issue. All right, was that 3 passes? You can't tell from my lather bowl. I think it was. Can't remember. Let's do another pass on the neck. And I'll leave some wet drops on my neck, and that'll help to thin down the lather even more. And tons of lather left over. I think I've done 3.5 passes, and I could do probably 4 with this. How about that? And we're looking at what, 5 teaspoons of water used to build up the lather. Now let's see. I've done 3 passes. I'm actually gonna go, ooh, felt some tenderness there. This is an against the grain stroke right here, but I could tell that was too much. Even with this mild razor, I can sometimes get away with it. With really mild razors and really sharp blades. Maybe the blades they cut before they pull on the hairs or something like that. Little bit of tautness to the skin. You don't want to over tighten. There we go. I think that's all I'm going to do. Otherwise I might generate a little razor burn. Again, still very smooth, comfortable. Very nice glide with this soap base. It's a really nice soap base. All right, in terms of closeness, I think I do see some length on a few of the hairs, but in general, I don't think I do. So it's a good shave. Not quite as good as some of the others that are out there. And so if I can't find too many blades that shave really well with this razor, I might have to pass it on to somebody else, because I just have a good selection of razors that do better with across a wide variety of blades. Going to use a little Dunshire today from Stirling. This is the balm. Sometimes you get a little whiteness if you spread it as thick as I do, and it goes away in just a few minutes, so no worries there. Gets absorbed. Nice protection all day long. For me at least. I've got oily skin anyway. One thing I noticed this shave was that with this brush, just dropped it on a towel, so this is kind of what it looks like after. With this brush, this Virginia Cheng Silvertip, it told me a little bit about the lather in that first pass. I felt more the dragging of the hairs. I didn't feel the softness of the tips as much as I usually do. And I believe what was happening was the lather was just too thick, and it was kind of dragging the brush, and I was feeling maybe the sides of the hairs instead of the tips. And then once I added that water after the first pass, it was a much nicer, softer brush. And so you can listen to your brush as well as your eyes and and the way it feels to help you kind of troubleshoot your lathers. All right, well, yep, 5 teaspoons of water. So man, I think everything could be halved for this soap next time. Definitely don't need to get the full 1/4 teaspoon from the sample jar. Well, Sandalumo, big success. If I ever see that particular soap by Oleo on a used, sell page or something like that. Definitely tempted to pick that up. Excellent performance as usual from them, and I really like the sandalwood and the other parts of the scent that jump out. I didn't quite smell the smoke as much during the shave. I didn't quite smell the oud like I did with the when I smelled it dry. I didn't really smell the oud as much either. I'm sure it's in there playing a really nice part because I like it in other soaps that I've tried. So I really enjoy it. Definitely nothing in there that tweaks me or gives me the wrong, makes me think, I wish that wasn't in there. So I'm a happy camper. It's always good to have another one from a good maker that you can have in your list. So I'm a big fan of that one, and I'm going to enjoy using that sample again later. All right. So yeah, kind of similar story yesterday. Oh, tiny little cut right there. I do have, it didn't cut me super well right here. And that's seems to be maybe the norm for many blades with this razor. Now this is funny because the WR2 from Wolfman is definitely not a mild razor like this one. And its star of the show, I think one of the stars was the platinum. And so that's, just goes to show you can put the same blade in different razors, get a totally different result. Your favorite blade for a certain razor is definitely not necessarily going to be your favorite blade for another razor. All right. Showed you how much copious amounts of lather I had left over. Brush was comfortable. It was hitting on everything was hitting well today. The scent was tremendous and the performance equally so. Thank you, George, very much for that sample. I'm so glad I was able to try that. I'll have to put that soap on my list of ones to keep an eye out for. All right, guys. Thank you for watching. Hope there was something here that has helped you out. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. Take care.